Hi guys, welcome to Nitiz Sharma Global Tech Private Limited. My name is Joel. Today what we are going to discuss, about Cisco SD-WAN course. Okay, so this is going to be a playlist where we'll be covering the different course modules of SD-WAN. We'll be going every course modules in depth. So we'll be dividing this into like different parts. So the main agenda for today's session, what we are going to discuss is, today we are going to discuss about the SD-WAN controllers. So what are these controllers? What are the responsibility of these controllers? Once we learn that, we are going to onboard these controllers. There are two steps that takes place while onboarding the controllers. One is a CLI part and one is from the GUI part. Okay, so we are going to discuss in depth how these things are actually happening. So let's just have a brief look at the topology that we are going to discuss. So here you can see there are different devices that are over there. So to summarize this in a nutshell, I can say there are different sites. Okay, so there is site 1, site 33, site 44. If you scroll down, you will see site 101 and site 102. So these are different sites. Okay, and assuming that you already have some knowledge in networking and I mean at least a CCNA level knowledge you should be having. So in there you'll be having like a brief module about software defined networking. So that is the prerequisite to watch this video further. Okay, so here we have different edge routers. The responsibility of this edge routers is to send traffic from one side to another site. So in traditional networking, you know that there are different planes in networking: data plane, control plane, and management plane. What is the responsibility of control plane? Control plane is a decision maker. So in traditional networking, if you see, the main difference is that each networking device, they have data plane, control plane, and management plane. Each networking devices, they were taking their own decisions manually. So what we are doing in Cisco SD-WAN framework is like we are decoupling this control plane from edge devices and we are using a dedicated controller. The dedicated controller in our scenario, that will be known as Vsmart. Okay, this is one of the controller that we are going to discuss. There are basically three controllers. One is Vmanage, the second one is Vsmart, and the third one is Vbond. So we are going to discuss about Vsmart first. So Vsmart is basically the brain of this complete SD-WAN framework. So if I open this Vsmart, this is basically an onboarded devices right now. Before onboarding itself, I just want to give you a glimpse what this actually looks like. What are the responsibilities of this? Okay, so if I go over here into my Vsmart, I can see something. I need to log in with my username and password. I can see, okay, show is show OMP routes by tab. Okay, I can see the different routes that I have learned from different sites. I can see this different network information like 0.0.0, 1.1.1, 7.7.7, 8.8.8. And if you scroll down, you can have 192.160, 33.0, 101.0, 102.0. These are the information that are learned from different peers. Okay, so Vsmart is a basically like a BGP route reflector. So whenever any edge devices, whenever we are installing a route in CH3 or CH4 or no matter any routes, if it's connected to the SD-WAN framework, what happens in the background is that these routes are going to get advertised to Vsmart. So once this route advertisements are going to advertise to Vsmart, the next thing that is going to happen is Vsmart is going to advertise this routes to all other edge devices. So if I go to the other devices like CH3 for say, I can see the other configuration. Just give it a second. Admin, go 1, 2, 3, show SD-WAN, OMP routes. you can see this all of the network information they have learned from one single peer. The one single peer that they are learning, this is basically the system IP address of Vsmart. They are learning this information from one single person, that is known as Vsmart. So that is what I've told. So any information whenever I route information that is coming into the Vsmart is going to advertise it back. Okay. Now the next thing, important thing that you can see over here, right now we only have like one single VPN over here. To segment the network, in traditionally it was very difficult to segment the network. Okay, so but with Cisco SD-WAN, like you are able to segment the network properly. So we are using the concept. The concept is known as VPN, which is basically to segment multiple networks into place, multiple network sections you can. So if you, okay, to make it further clarified, so you can see a host session which is connected to the CH3. There is a guest which is connected to CH3. So by default, all the VPNs, like by default, VPN 1 will have a connectivity to all other VPN 1s with an IPsec tunnel. VPN 2, if we have a VPN 2 will be having a default IPsec tunnels to all other VPNs too. So for transport network, we are basically using VPN 0, which is basically the transport VPN. For the WAN facing interfaces, they will be belonging to the VPN 0. So VPN 0 by default, they'll be having connectivity to all VPN 0 sites. Okay. Now, coming back, so this is the same controller we'll be applying like different policies. So like I told, like there is a full mesh of connectivity that is being established between site 33 to 44 or site 33 to 102. Any site can reach to any other site because there is IPsec tunnels that are being automatically created once this configuration is done. Okay, but do we need that? By default, that property is already there. If you want to change it, you can create a policy. The policy is also going to get applied from the POV of Vsmart. So whenever we are going to apply a policy, the policy will be having a source and a destination. Like how, like to make it simple, I can say this might sound similar to your ACL concept. So there will be like inbound interface and outbound interface. What matters to the policy is where you're going to apply it. So from which point of the Vsmart, whether the policy is coming to the sites which are coming to the Vsmart or the traffic which is going out of Vsmart, that makes a lot of difference. But the point that you want to remember here is Vsmart is the brain of the controllers, and it is going to apply decisions to the end devices as well. Now coming back, there is another controller, that is Vmanage. So Vmanage is basically your management plane. So where if you open this controller, this is completely GUI based control. You can see other controllers also who are connected to the SD-WAN framework. So you can see like one Vbond, one Vsmart, and one Vmanage is there. So and you can see the number of edge devices that are there, and you can go to configuration or monitor devices, basically anywhere you can go. So let's go here, and you can see what is the status of the devices, whether they are in sync, what is the health of the devices. All those things you will be able to see it from Vmanage. So to make the devices in Vmanage mode, you will be creating templates, you will be attaching devices into the template, then only you will be able to create policies, just giving a heads up. So all those things, the management plane of this SD-WAN framework, they belongs to the Vmanage. Then you have Vbond. Vbond is basically, so who are supposed to come into your SD-WAN framework? So who is going to decide it? Okay, so Vbond is basically the validator. So the major responsibility of Vbond is any controller or any device, when they are first coming to the SD-WAN framework, they are first going to initiate a tunnel between the Vbond. So all this, all these controllers, like they are forming a DTLS tunnel by default. So the first type of communication that we are going to have, the first type of communication is going to be the Vbond. Vbond is going to be a validator. So Vbond is going to tell who is supposed to join our network, who is not supposed to join our network. That is the responsibility of Vbond. So there is no GUI or anything for Vbond. It is completely managed by CLI. So now let's actually wipe these devices. I have shown you a glimpse of it. We will discuss further once we are moving to the next topics. So in today's session, like I told, the main agenda that we are doing is to onboard the controllers. Okay, so now you need to start the devices. Now the devices have started. So this is basically some heavy devices that we're using over here. So Vmanage itself, it's using somewhere around like 32 GB RAM. Vsmart is using somewhere around 8 GB RAM, and Vbond is also using 8 GB of RAM over here. And Vmanage is using somewhere around 8 CPUs. And the next thing that you want to observe over here, there is a root CA. So the root CA is going to validate or give us the root certificate in this SD-WAN framework. So in our particular lab, we are using a root certificate authority. So there are different ways that you can onboard the controllers. So here in today's session, what we are going to discuss is we are going to discuss controller which are onboarding on-prem. But the other option that you have is you can onboard it from Cisco's cloud. If you're using Cisco's cloud, the controller will be automatically deployed, the tunnels will be automatically established, the devices will be automatically added, then you will be getting the license. You just have to use the credentials to log in. So, but today we are going to do the hard way, where we are doing the manually onboarding process. Okay, so now let's open the CLI of the devices. There are some initial parameters that you need to configure on Vsmart, Vbond, and Vmanage. So it will take few minutes to come up here. We should be ideally getting a message saying that the system is ready. If you check there is a default username and password that you need to enter, that is admin. You can see system is initializing, please wait to log in. So which means that it has not completely initialized the process. So once that is ready, you'll be getting a message saying that the system is ready. And same on Vbond, Vmanage also, it is booting up right now. Okay, so while this device is booting up, let's discuss furthermore on the topologies. Okay, so basically, what we are going to do right now is, okay, so we are going to do the CLI configuration. So we were actually seeing these things in Vmanage, we are seeing the GUI. So in order to access this, in order to use this in the GUI mode, in order to do any policy configuration, first you have to onboard the devices. The first onboarding process that takes place is you have to enter the initial parameters which are required, like the IP address, host name, system configuration. And in all the controllers, we are going to say there is our Vbond is. Okay, so then it is going to initiate a DTLS tunnel between each other. Once that is done, that is basically the system configuration that we have mentioned. Then there is two types of VPNs you will be finding in these devices. One is VPN 0 and one is VPN 5 So VPN 5 it is basically for the management purpose. As you can see here, I am only using VPN 5 in my Vmanage because this is the only device which I want to use from my management VPN. Because this is only where I'm using the GUI. So I don't want to configure VPN 5 on any other devices. So VPN 0, it's basically for the transport purpose. VPN 5 it is for the management purpose. So we are going to configure this VPN 0 configuration and VPN 5 configuration in this devices. Okay, so now in VPN 0, you can see the interfaces that are connected to VPN 0 are ETH1 and GE0/0. And in VPN 5 only in Vmanage you have ETH0. Okay, so let's see what is the status. Okay, the Vmanage is still not ready. By the time you can see the message which is on Vbond that the system is ready. So I'm just mentioning the default username and password, that is admin, and entering a new password. Given the parameters for that, you can see your Vsmart is also ready. Entering the default username and password, that is always admin for all devices. And entering the details here also. Admin, and go 1 2 3 1 2 3. Okay, as you can see, there are a few more details that you have to enter to the Vmanage. So then once you do the initial configuration, it is going to boot up. Then once we enter the CLI configuration, again it's going to push the configuration. So the first option that I have to choose, the default values that I have to choose over here is, first I have to choose compute and data, then I have to do a confirmation with Y, then I am going to select the storage, that is VDP. I am going to do a confirmation, then it is going to allocate. So once that is done, it is going to take some time for the devices to come up, and by the time, what we are going to do is we are going to do the configuration for other devices. Other devices means we'll start configuring the CLI configuration for our Vbond. So once we do the configuration for our Vbond, we'll come back and configure Vmanage if it's ready, or else by the time we'll be configuring Vsmart. Okay, so let's start with our Vbond configuration. Okay, so to get into the configuration, you can use config terminal, but just by typing config, you will be in the configuration terminal. The first thing that we have to give is the system configuration. In system configuration, what I'm going to do, the first thing that I'm going to do is the host name. The host name that I'm going to mention, this is my Vbond. I'm going to give that host name. Once I give the host name, I'm going to configure the system IP. The system IP is 10.1.1.3. You can assign any value, it's up to you. You can it has to be unique. That is only point of you have to remember. Then you have to make the site ID. The site ID is 1. This controllers, all the controllers, they are belonging to the site ID 1. Then there is organization name. Organization name is NSGT SD-WAN. Make sure that you are not making any typos while entering the organization name, because that is going to create a problem while forming the DTLS tunnels between the controllers. Okay, now you have to mention the Vbond IP address. The Vbond IP address, while mentioning the Vbond IP address, okay, so here for the transport point of view, in VPN 0, I'll be using this network, that is 150.1.1.0. So for this controller, I'll be allocating like 103. That is my Vbond IP address. The next thing that I have to mention over here is that is local. Okay, so once that is done, I can do a save with commit. If I mention commit and quit, I'll be coming out of the system configuration, and if I want to see what are the configuration that I have saved, I can type show running config system. I'll be seeing the configuration that I have saved. Host name I have saved, system IP, site ID, and organization name, and I have told where is my Vbond. That is all you have to do for the VPN system configuration. Now we'll be jumping into the VPN configuration. While going to the VPN configuration, first thing that I want to see is whether the interfaces are properly allocated on the correct VPN. So show interface pipe tab, I can see G0/0, that belongs to my VPN 0. That is all which I need right now. So I'm not wasting further time. I'm going here and I'm going to the VPN 0 configuration. Once I go to my VPN 0, I'm going to select what is the interface that I'm using over here. Okay, so the interface that I'm using here is interface G0/0. Then I have to mention what is the encapsulation that I'm using. G0/0. I have to first, before mentioning the encapsulation, first you have to mention this is a tunnel interface. Then only you can configure the encapsulation. Encapsulation is IPsec. So once you mention IPsec, the next thing that you have to mention is what are the type of services that you're allowing. I'm allowing all the type of services. So once I allow the services, the next thing I'm going to mention, that is do a no shutdown on this interface. Now what I need to do is I need to configure a default route. Okay, so my gateway, there is a gateway in the switch which is connecting between all other edge devices, that is okay, that is 150.1.1.254. IP route 0.0.0. Okay, let's come out of this and type it. IP route 0.0.0 and subnet mask is 0.0.0. Send it to 150.1. Okay, so this value is not taking, so we'll use this value and check. That is 150.1.1.254. Okay, that is it. You should use a cider value rather than mentioning the complete subnet mask. Okay, so once that is done, I'm going to do a commit. Once I did the commit, I'm just committing and quit, and I'm typing the show running config. Here right now, what I'm looking here right now is I'm looking at my VPN 0 configuration. So G0/0 tunnel interface. Okay, encapsulation IPsec. So one more thing that I had to enter over there, which was missing, is I haven't assigned one IP address. So if I type show IP interface, show interface pipe tab, interface pipe tab, what it is missing is there is no IP address which is there on my VPN 0. So I'll just finish that also. Config VPN 0 tunnel in VPN 0 interface G0/0. Now I'm going to assign one IP address. IP address is 150.1.1.103/24. Commit and quit. Show interface pipe tab. You can see there is IP address which is on my VPN 0, and I have system configuration. So that is all which I need for the time being. So I'll just go to my Vmanage and see if it's ready. So I'll finish my Vmanage configuration, then we'll come back and do the rest of the configuration. Okay, so I'm going to configure this Cisco. I'm logged into Vmanage. Now the first thing that I have to do is I have to go to the config mode, and I have to mention system. In system I have to mention host name is Vmanage. System IP is 10.1.1.1. I just want to see what is the IP address that I have given for my Vbond so that the values will be unique. Okay, so that was 10.1.1.3. So here I'm going to mention this as 10.1.1.1, and site ID is 1. Organization name, it has to be same on all the controllers in SGT hyphen SD-WAN. Once I mention the organization name, the second thing I have to mention is the Vbond IP address. The Vbond IP addresses, that is 150.1.1.103. Only on Vbond, when you're typing, you have to mention local, which is just to indicate that this is the Vbond. So on all other controllers, you'll be mentioning Vbond IP address directly. So once you do that, you can do a commit. Once the configuration is committed, you can go to the VPN 0 config. In VPN 0, you are going to select the interface. Okay, so there might be an issue, so commit and quit. Okay, so first thing we have to validate always is show interface pipe tab. Now what ideally we should be seeing is, okay, so here the point that I want to make here is, if you go and see the topology, so all the interfaces, they are belonging to VPN 0 right now, ETH1 and ETH0. So while the later when you're going to configure ETH0 in VPN 5.0, you'll be getting an error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach this ETH0 from VPN 0. Okay, so config VPN 0, no interface ETHO, which help me to remove my ETHO interface from VPN 0. Okay, now I'm going to select the interface ETH1, Then the second thing that I have to mention here is, so once I mention that particular interface, now I have to mention an IP address, then I have to mention this as a tunnel interface, then I have to mention what are the type of services that I'm going to allow. Okay, the IP address is 150.1.1.101/24. Now I have to mention this as a tunnel interface. Once I mention encapsulation IPsec, it's only needed for Vbound. Now I'm mentioning what are the type of services which I'm going to allow right now. I'm going to allow all services, allow services all. Now once that is done, I have to mention no shutdown. Now basically now we have to do a default route, IP route 0.0.0.0/0. The gateway is 150.1.1. Okay, just to make it clear, IP route 0.0.0.0/0. The gateway is 150.1.1.254. That is my gateway. Now once that is done, I am going to end from here. Yes, I want to commit it. Commit is completed. So show running config VPN 0. You would be seeing the VPN 0 configuration. VPN 0 is done. So let's configure VPN Vital. Okay. So same process, VPN Vital. Second thing is you have to mention the interface name. Interface, that is ETHO. Once you mention ETHO, you have to mention the IP address. So the IP address series that we'd be using here is for the management purpose, that is 150.1.7. series. Okay, so IP address is 150.1.11/24/24. Now mentioning a no shutdown. Now once that is done, the next details that I have to do is I can do a default route, but that is not necessary, so I'm just coming out of it and mentioning commit and quit. So once I mention commit and quit, the commit is completed. Show running config. You can see the system configuration is there, VPN 0 configuration is there, and VPN Vital configuration is there. So to do the first step of troubleshooting, I just want to check whether my Vbound is reachable. So I'm just doing a ping 150.1.1.103. You can see there is reachability. Okay, so by default the communication will be traveling from the transport VPN, that is VPN 0. If you are configuring management VPN, if you want to ping it from VPN Vital, you have to mention what is the source that you're pinging from. But here you don't have any other VPNs to check whether this is reachable or not, so it doesn't matter. But later, in case if you're configuring, it's something you need to remember. Okay, the first thing here, same also, system configuration. System host name is Vsmart. Once you mention the host name as Vsmart, now we have to give the system IP. System IP is 10.1.1.2 and site ID is 1. Organization name is NSGT SDWAN, and I'm going to say where is my Vbond. Vbond is 150.1.1.103, and that is all I need for my system configuration. So I can exit from here. Okay, or before that I can do a commit. Once I did a commit, I'm coming out of it. Then again going back to config mode, configuring the VPN 0, going to VPN 0 interface. The interface that belongs to VPN 0 is ETH1. Interface ETH1 and IP address is 150.1.1.102/24. Okay, first tunnel interface, no shutdown, then doing an IP route. IP route is 0.0.0.0.0/0, then it's 150.1.1.254. Now once that is done, you can do a commit and quit, and doing a ping test to other controllers, that is ping 150.1.1.101, you have reachability, and you're doing a ping test to the other controller, that is 103, there also you have reachability. So once this is done, before accessing this from the Vmanage, what we need to do is, okay, there are a few things that you need to keep remembering. Okay, so this is the this was the Vmanage, which I haven't closed, but if you try to reach the same IP address right now, let's close it and open it. If you try to log into the same IP right now, you won't be having access because the Vmanage is not yet ready. It will take some time to push the configuration. As you can see, 150.1.7.11, it's not reachable right now. So the first troubleshooting step also will finish, then we will go show interface pipe tab. What I want to see is, I want to see to IP address. Okay, so there is a small typo error that we made in VPN file. It's 150.1.1.1.7.11. Okay, so show. So we'll just rectify that. Config VPN file interface ETHO, no IP address 150.1.1.11/24, and IP address is 150.1.7.11/24. Commit. And one more thing, VPN file, the interface is up. Okay, commit. Now just checking on the same thing. Okay, so right now when you're checking, Firefox detected a potential security effect. What you have to do is you have to click on the advanced and accept the risk and continue. So you can see this Vmanage server is not ready or temporarily unavailable. So it will take some time for this configuration to get pushed. So by the time, what we need to configure right now is we need to configure the root certificate to all the devices. So the root certificate is giving the primary level of trust to all the controllers right now. So a root certificate should be installed in the controller. So what we need to remember is, the root certificate is CA is already configured. We are actually requesting. So in organization, when you're working, like, the root certificate will be already configured for different application, like web application. You might be having a one root CA and intermediate CAs in between, for different application. For web application, emails, you will be having like intermediate CAs. While signing the root certificate, the thing that you have to remember is, you have to make sure that the root certificate should be installed from the root CA, and intermediate CA can sign the certificate. Certificate signing request can be signed by them. Okay, so right now I'm going to install this in the certificate into the different devices. So there is an HTTP server which is already created in the root CA. So I'm just requesting the certificate from my Vmanage. I have reachability to the root CA. So request download HTTP -. I have to mention what is my username, that is admin, then password is Cisco, and I have to mention what is the file name, that is 150.1.1. The IP is 16 slash, I have to mention the file name, that is root.ca. Okay, so which means the certificate has been successfully downloaded to the controller. I'll just copy this. This is the credentials for my root CA. I'll install this on other devices also. Okay, so on the Vsmart controller also I have downloaded the certificate. I have downloaded the certificate on all the devices right now. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the certificate. Okay, so request root chain install home/admin/, I'm going to mention the file name, that is root.ca. Request root chain home/install home/admin/ the file name, that is root.ca. We have installed the certificates on all the devices. Right now what we are going to do is we are going back to the SD-WAN GUI. The GUI is ready right now. So all the root certificate has been installed. So I'm just mentioning the username and password that I have given over here. Just entering here. Right now I am getting into the SD-WAN GUI. Okay, so once you log in over here, the things that you will be seeing right now is, so you don't have any Vbond, Vsmart and Vmanage. You have to manually add this into the SD-WAN Vmanage. Okay, so before doing that, we have to give some basic details right now. So I'm going into the administration. In settings, I'm going to do some configuration. This configuration is just mentioning few details like whatever we have mentioned here on the CLI. I'm going to mention this as my organization name. My organization name is NS GT-SD-WAN, and copy pasting the same thing, confirming it, save it, and I'm going to mention my Vbond IP address. The Vbond IP address I'm using here is 150.1.1.103, and I'm saving this. And next important thing that I have to do is I have to mention what is a controller certificate authorization that I'm using. For Cisco hosted devices, the PKI would do, but you don't have to do it. It will be already done from their side. So here I'm just going to mention this as my enterprise root, and I'm going to select the root certificate from the root CA. So I'm going to my root CA. I'm going to my root CA and I have to generate the certificate from my root CA. Okay, now I have to find where. Okay, so this is my root CA. In root CA, enable config mode. I'm going to crypto PKI export root root, and it's going to be from terminal. So I can see my root certificate now. I am going to copy paste this into the GUI. Okay, into the GUI I am mentioning this details and I'm importing and saving. So once this is done, I can go back and manually add controllers. I'm going to configuration, devices, controllers, and I need to add other controllers. Right now I told you like there was no Vsmart and Vbond that was added to the SD-WAN, so I'm going to add this. First I'm going to add my Vbond, that is 150.1.103, and the default username is admin, and the password I have entered. And I've also created a certificate tick mark over here. This is basically to generate a certificate signing request. This is the final level of trust that we need to enter over here. I'm going to add this device. This device is added. Right now I'm going to add my Vsmart also. I'm going to mention my Vsmart address, that is 102, mentioning the username, that is admin, the password is password itself. Okay. Now I have added the controllers. Right now you can see this is not in sync because the certificate signing request that we have, it has to get signed from the root certificate. Okay, so we are going again back to configuration. Here we are going back to the certificates. From there we are selecting the controllers. From there I am going to sign my certificate signing request of Vmanage first. So I've generated a certificate signing request. Now what I have to do is I have to go to my root CA and I have to sign a certificate signing request. So the command is crypto pki. I have to mention what is a server. The server name is root, and I have to mention request pkcs 10 terminal. Okay, now I need to paste my certificate signing request into the root CA. And you can just press and enter. You will get the signed certificate right now. The signed certificate, I'm just going to paste it to the device. Going to install certificate and going to install this signed certificate signing request to the devices. Okay, so that part is done. While this is getting pushed, we'll create the certificate signing request for Vbond and Vsmart. Now I am generating the certificate signing request. Going back, okay, this has been accepted. Now I'm going back and I'm going to generate it for the other devices. So generate a certificate signing request for my Vbond. Copy paste this certificate, let it get signed. Install certificate, paste it, enter. It is going to get it pushed. By the time we'll write the commands for the next one also. Crypto PKI server root request bound. Okay, this is going to get pushed. That is also successful. So right now you can see the system IP over here, and going to generate a certificate signing request for the last device. I'm going to mention the last certificate signing request, and I'm entering the certificate signing request right now. The certificate got signed and mentioning this values here. Close install certificate, install certificate, go back, finish it. That is also done. Now once this is done, ideally what we should be seeing right now is configuration, devices, controllers. You can see the system IP has been assigned to all the devices and it's been synced. Okay, so right now if you go back to the SD-WAN, yeah, so you can see the controllers has been successfully onboarded. The next process that we'll be discussing in the coming session, that is to onboard all other controllers like the edge routers. So for onboarding those devices, first thing, we'll just finish that part, then we'll stop for today's session. So what we have to do is we have to upload the license file for these devices. So I have already generated a license file from Cisco's portal. So I'm just uploading this license file I have generated for this organization name, that is NSGT SD-WAN. I can, so this organization name is a unique number like your IP address. So this is completely unique, so that you can see there are so many licenses that are for C 8000 devices which I have right now. See 8000 V devices and CSR 1000 routers I have generated the license. In the next session, we'll be discussing about this other edge devices onboarding. So if you like the video, please let us know like what you think about the video. Also, if you have any queries, like if you won't have any doubts, please drop that in the comments. While covering the next session, we'll be discussing about all those doubts. Okay, so to keep updated with this, please consider subscribing this, and thank you so much.